Hello everyone, and welcome to our Insurance Now session, Flex Your Core with Cortina. As the title suggests, this session will cover some exciting new things available in the Cortina release of Insurance Now, including a demo of one of our exciting new integrations. We're also going to check in on some product roadmap initiatives and get a glimpse of what's to come. Thanks for joining me once again, Ben. I like to start these conversations by spending a couple minutes talking about the product vision. After all, it is the driving why behind the work that we do. And when we last spoke about the BAMF release in November, you covered the 5 key areas of focus for the Insurance Now product vision. And they were API everywhere, modern digital experiences, low-code configuration, embedded analytics, and next-generation infrastructure. Have there been any changes since BAMF? Is there anything new that's been added to the vision?
Yeah, Phil, well, our vision items are roughly a 2-year time frame. And in the past, we did connections once a year talking about 2 releases worth of content. In this new format, being only 6 months from the last one, we've had just 1 release since we last spoke. That being said, we did officially add one thing to the vision, which is the marketplace. The marketplace has been part of our overall strategy, but now we've just officially made it part of the vision. And the good news is we've accomplished a lot in the last 6 months, making progress towards these vision items. The bad news is everyone, Phil, has to see you and I twice this year.
Ha! Good point, Ben. This is true. Although I don't think it's really bad news. I mean, maybe one day we could be a famous duo. Like Holmes and Watson, or maybe Kirk and Spock.
Yeah, right. I think we're trending towards some other famous duo.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, well, I guess time will tell, and we'll let the audience be the judge. So back to the product vision, and more specifically, I want to look at the vision as it relates to Cortina. What was the focus of the Cortina release? Were there some areas of the vision that had more focus, say, than others?
Yes, definitely. I would say specifically in Cortina, our focus was on API everywhere, embedded analytics, and next generation infrastructure. We're really doing a lot of things right now that span multiple releases and more of a journey. Some of these are truly transformative changes that take time, but will add a lot of value for our customers. For example, on the API everywhere front, I keep mentioning it over and over again, but our API strategy underpins many of the things we want to do. They are really the key to unlocking capabilities of Insurance Now to give our customers the flexibility to create digital products that make sense for them, but also allows us to create flexible products such as our new consumer sales portal that we released last fall. For our next generation infrastructure, we've also continued our work to put Insurance Now on the new Guidewire Cloud platform. There's a lot of architectural work there, but tons of value that comes with a modern cloud platform such as dynamic scaling and self-healing systems.
Well, with releases coming every 6 months, it's inevitable that not every release will have new capabilities for every area of focus. I mean, low-code configuration in Cortina is a perfect example. Customers may not see new functionality in this area with Cortina, but everyone should rest assured knowing that there's still a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Work and planning that will enable future functionality. Right, Ben?
Yeah, good point, Phil. The thing with Studio, our low-code configuration editor, is that it edits configurations for Insurance Now, obviously. For Cortina, we needed to finish some larger efforts around some configuration enhancements around our new metadata framework. Then we can now plan for the Studio changes to be able to edit that metadata through Studio. So it's really just a timing thing.
Got it. Let's dive a little deeper now and focus on the new capabilities being released in Cortina. There are several new things that our customers can look forward to in the release. And from your perspective, what would you say are the highlights of the Cortina release of Insurance Now?
Yeah, I would say I'm really excited about 3 new capabilities in Cortina. As you know, Insurance Now has been in the cloud for many years now, but like any technology, infrastructure technology and tools have changed as well, right? The new cloud platform is really the next generation of our infrastructure platform. This is the same platform that all Guidewire applications will be running on, both InsuranceSuite and Insurance Now. Okay, so many people will probably wonder, why should I care though, right? We run the application and all the cloud stuff is behind the scenes and it just works, right? Well, let me give you some real world examples that will really show how this is valuable for our customers. Let's say that there is some event that causes an increased load on the system. For example, there's a certain time of the month where there are a lot of batch operations that need to be run, or maybe a more extreme example like a catastrophic weather event. Before the cloud platform, an event like this would require customers to open a ticket and a Guidewire operations person to respond to that request and manage it appropriately. With the new cloud platform, the system will automatically add resources as needed. And so with this new platform, this happens in moments, resulting in better performance and availability. Another area of the new Guidewire Cloud platform is improved monitoring. This is also a big win for our customers. With newer advanced observability tools, Guidewire Cloud Operations can run much more proactive in discovering any issues. In fact, I have a great story to tell in this area. As we were testing the Cortina release internally, we wanted to put the new monitoring to the test. In the past, we would do an internal test, and testers would record those issues, and those issues would be reviewed and triaged and prioritized, and then the fixes would be planned out. In this Cortina testing, we actually had people monitoring the testing using the new observability tools and saw issues and errors in real time. And so many of these issues were fixed before they could even be recorded. So taking this to a real production scenario, and our cloud operations team can identify issues quickly before our customers run into them and report them, it's adding real value for our customers. Those are just some great examples of how these tools will allow for much more proactive monitoring. All right, so these are just a few of the exciting capabilities of the new cloud platform. There are many more, but we only have so much time here, and I can talk about this all day. The second new exciting capability in Cortina is our new email integration. I'm really excited about this. This is our new email integration with Twilio SendGrid. Some of the problems our customers have given us feedback on in the past is the lack of visibility as to what is sent out or what is not, or what happened to an email. This new integration offers much more visibility into the status of emails sent from InsuranceNow. As you can see from this example, we have new icons on the policy and claim file. Say there's a correspondence or a policy document, etc. You can see right next to that item the status of the email. You can see whether it was successful, whether it's in progress, or whether there's an error. And if you hover over the little icon, you can see a little more detail on the information behind that. The third capability is our integration with Cyence for small business, which is part of our embedded analytics major theme. And this is a really cutting-edge Guidewire analytics capability that is very unique and adds a ton of value for underwriting small business risks. In fact, we've got a great demo here by Sherry Caruth, one of our InsuranceNow solution consultants, that will show you what Cyence is all about.
Thanks, Ben. Now let's take a look at Cyence in action. Utilizing the applicant's DBA and address, Cyence orders data on almost 100 different risk factors and returns the results to the user in a format that not only provides a numeric score, but a visual comparison to other similar organizations in their local peer group and even on a more national scale. Let's take a look at our example here of a California restaurant. Once I've entered in the information for the quote, the system automatically starts the process of retrieving and scoring the risk factors. Once the information is returned, it's displayed to an authorized user in the Cyence Assessments area here in the menu on the left. I simply can click into the location that I want to see the details on, and I'm first presented with a list of information regarding past violations. Topics such as workplace safety, hazardous materials, and even wage practice information. Next, scrolling down, we can see a very comprehensive list of the top impacting risk factors. Notice there's an icon that represents the severity of the score that's been returned for each one of these factors, from a high severity, medium, and low. The user can also filter this list based on these severity indicators. For example, if I just want to see any of the risk factors that came back with a higher severity score, I can do so very easily. Additionally, we've enabled a text filter. So for example, if I just want to see the factors that are impacting crime, I can do so by putting in a keyword of crime. If the user expands any of these factors, they're shown a colorful line chart that represents exactly where this particular risk falls in line with the rest of their peer group. So for example, what we're seeing here in consumer sentiment is that while the online reviews for this particular risk may not be completely stellar, they do appear to be in a better situation than most of their peers for the area. Now, in my past, I was a commercial lines underwriter, and the time it would have taken me to find and collate this type of information around a single risk would have just been cost prohibitive. Cyence allows your team to even have details that you may not have had convenient access to before. Through configuration, you can even decide which factors apply to specific business types. For example, you may not care or even want to see if a convenience store is open 24 hours. But in the case of a restaurant, this may be an entirely different story. Science reports can also be automatically reran at different points within the policy lifecycle, such as renewal or even when a new risk location is added to a policy by endorsement. That'll wrap up our demo, and I'll hand it back to you, Ben and Phil.
Well, it's hard to argue with those choices for the highlights. The science integration is really cutting edge stuff, and one of the things that I think is super exciting. There are a couple other areas, though, that I want to dig into regarding the Cortina release that kind of tie back to last year. During that customer advisory group meeting that we had at Connections, there was a good discussion about improvements that could be made to the inbox. And I know some of these ideas that were raised are now available in the Cortina release. Can you talk about the inbox improvements that we've made?
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. At our CAG last November, we explored the inbox functionality and discussed some pain points around this. Customers had a lot of requests to do many things that the inbox views already did. This made me realize that we are not doing a great job on making some of these capabilities easy enough to use and well enough known about. So we did a number of things. The first thing we did was give supervisor visibility to direct reports. So you can see in this drop-down, a supervisor can see all of their direct reports and be able to see the inbox for those direct reports. The other thing we did is we renamed some of our out-of-the-box views to make them more clear. The first one we didn't touch, the current open, that's kind of the default view for everybody. The second one we did is task name. So this is the ability to see all tasks. For example, if you wanted to see new business application tasks, provide you the ability to see that. We also provided the ability to see tasks for whole areas. So let's say you wanted to see all tasks for quotes or policies or claims or individual policies or quotes. This gives you that capability. The last thing we added was the ability for advanced search. You can search by date range, user, or a status. Just gives you more flexibility to search for a variety of parameters. The last concept we added is a brand new concept called overdue. The idea here is to provide the ability to see tasks that are overdue and to be able to configure tasks to have this overdue concept. So the idea here is we added a new field called due date to the task template. And you can configure this to be, let's say, X number of days after the work date, fully configurable, whatever makes sense for your business. And then once those are configured, if tasks become overdue, you can see that in the inbox with our brand new out-of-the-box view called overdue. So this is just a great example of working with our customers, understanding their pain points, and finding a solution to meet it. So thank you all out there for your feedback and input on this.
Well, I guess this would be a good time to plug our next CAG meeting, which is coming up tomorrow. We hope you can join us there for more great discussions about our future initiatives for InsuranceNow. Okay, so the other area I want to dig a little deeper into is billing. And while it's not always the most exciting topic, this release does have some notable improvements. Can you talk more about the improvements made to the billing area of InsuranceNow?
Yeah, totally. Agree. Billing is not always the most exciting of topics to discuss, but of course, it's very important. In fact, I had a recent situation personally where bad billing can really make an organization look very bad. My local utility company went to a new billing system, and they told me all I had to do was create a new account and all of my information would carry over from the previous system, including my auto pay information. But the next month I received a past due notice, and so being confused, I logged into my account and saw my statement that said overdue, that said past due, but it also said do not pay auto pay. So obviously I'm very confused. I call them and they say, sorry, it was just a glitch in the system. We fixed it. Next month it'll be fine. It wasn't fine. It took me 3 months of doing this to finally have them figure it out. So you can see I was very frustrated, and this just shows the importance of how customers really just expect billing to work, but when it doesn't, it makes the company look really bad, right? So on that note, we did a few things in InsuranceNow around billing. The first is we improved some billing navigation. So we heard that a lot of times a billing person will go into the customer information area, search for some information, an address or a phone number, but then when they had to handle the billing for them, they had to go to the billing area and research for that policy or item. So we just added a link from the customer area straight over to the billing. The other thing we did was allow the ability to preview a revised payment schedule. So when a user selects Change Pay Plan from the billing tab, the user is presented with a list of available payment plans. And upon selecting a new payment plan, previous to this change, the user is not provided with a revised payment schedule until the change is actually finalized. Now you can see from the screenshot, you can see the revised payment schedule as well as all the information about each pay plan without having to actually select it.
Thanks, Ben. Your story is a great reminder that while it may not be that exciting, billing plays a crucial role in the overall customer experience and shouldn't be ignored. Whenever we talk about what's new with Insurance Now, there's always a question that comes up about what are the things is Guidewire working on that Insurance Now customers may benefit from down the road. Last time we spoke, you talked about some of these initiatives, and it's great to see that a couple are already making their way into the Cortina release, like Guidewire Cloud Platform and Science. But there are a couple that you haven't mentioned, and I'm specifically talking about Advanced Product Designer and Guidewire Data Platform. Are we still looking at both of these for Insurance Now?
Yeah, Advanced Product Designer and the Guidewire Data Platform are two areas that are kind of in that multi-release journey that we spoke about earlier. The Advanced Product Designer is a Guidewire product that provides insurance product design capabilities. And there are a couple of use cases there that we're looking to leverage by integrating with our Studio product. The first one is the ability to create products from scratch. So let's say you have a unique line of business that you want to design. The Advanced Product Designer allows you to create requirements for that line of business in a very visual way, such as adding coverages and limits and risks. And then you import these into Studio and finish the details of those configuration in the Insurance Now Studio. This is an early development, but it has some really exciting possibilities. The other use case we're looking at is the ability to leverage the Guidewire ISO content. This is early days as well, so this is a longer term initiative, but we're really excited about that potential as well. And with the Guidewire Data Platform, this is another exciting area that we're actively working on, actually. This will allow the capabilities of a full data warehouse. It's going to give us the full feature data platform to do things such as adding third-party data and legacy data to join with Insurance Now data for reporting and business intelligence. There's tools for querying the data as well as pulling data for other downstream systems. And Guidewire Analytics products will be built right on top of this data platform as well that will allow Insurance Now to plug into these analytics models much more easily.
Well, Ben, it sounds like your team's really going to be busy.
Yeah, for sure.
I have one final question for you, and it's about the roadmap. As customers start thinking about the next few releases, say after Cortina, like Dobson and beyond, is there anything that they should start thinking about or that they can start planning for now?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple of related things that I would mention. We're looking at creating a flexible notification framework that will allow for sending SMS notifications. This will allow insureds to subscribe and opt into specific notification categories for a given channel, and different personas can subscribe to the SMS notifications, for example, agents or insureds. The other area is really our marketplace strategy and trying to make integrations easier. Part of our marketplace strategy to increase our ecosystem of integration partners, we're looking at ways to make integrations easier. So we're working on a framework to externalize integrations to allow for partners to integrate with Insurance Now without having to embed the code right into Insurance Now. So we're actually looking at utilizing this framework for our SMS integrations as well.
Thanks, Ben. Always a pleasure chatting with you, even if it is from my living room. But seriously, it's great to see the continued progress toward the product vision that you're making with your team for Insurance Now and all the new capabilities and improvements that we're able to provide in such a short 6-month release timeframe. If you're looking to learn more about the Insurance Now product roadmap, we'll be having an Insurance Now product roadmap webinar for customers later this month on May 27th. So be sure to keep your eyes open for an email invitation to that, or feel free to reach out to your account manager for more information. Well, that takes us to the end of our session. I want to thank Ben for joining me and thank all of you for tuning in to watch. Thank you.